The parable of the Good Shepherd gives us a great illustration of sin, the consequences of sin, and reconciliation. In that story, of course, we have Jesus as the Good Shepherd. We, the sheep, are part of his flock, and he guards us and guides us when we follow his commandments. However, sometimes we might choose to be outside of the love of God. Maybe we're seeking pleasure or maybe a perceived freedom. Outside of God's flock, then, we're susceptible to danger and darkness and maybe even falling on our own. But that's why we have reconciliation. The Good Shepherd comes out and takes us back to himself, brings us back into the love of God, brings us back into the church, and reconciles us through confession. When I was young, I grew up in a neighborhood that was pretty close-knit, but also very protected. So my brother and I and our neighbors would probably get in a lot of trouble. Picture then a baseball game in which a ball goes through the window of a neighbor. Of course, the right thing to do is to apologize. You'd hope that that neighbor would understand, but the window also has to be fixed. Confession then is very much like apologizing to our neighbor, in this case, God, but also pursuing an approach to fix that window, which we might call penance. Penance simply is a prayer or action that leads us toward the path of healing. As in the sacrament of baptism, water is always a symbol of God's grace and love. Here we perhaps are the vessel of that grace and love, and he pours his love into us. Say, however, we fall into error and sin, and we may damage our relationship with God. What happens when God wants to pour his grace in us? And so we need the love of God to reconcile us, go to confession, and he can heal us to be able to receive his grace and mercy.